Okay, so we're making matzo ball soup, and basically, I'm telling Shandy the story. So there's a lot of backstory, but Ramses told Moses that he was going to free the Hebrews from enslavement, and every time he kept telling him that he was going to do it, then he changed his mind, and he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So God sent plagues on Egypt, and the first was blood, and then he sent lice and frogs and locusts, one after another. And he sent darkness, long darkness. The cattle and livestock got sick and they died. The last plague that he was sending was the death of the firstborn son. But he happened to tell Moses, and Moses got to tell all the Hebrews ahead of time that the angel of death was going to come through and he was going to kill all the firstborn sons. So the Hebrews were warned, and they put lamb's blood on their door.
Okay.
And if the angel of death came by and there was lamb's blood on the door, he knew that they were Hebrews and not to kill their children. And so it called it Passover. So they celebrated Passover as a time when their children were saved and the Egyptians were murdered by the angel of death. So that's their celebration.
Okay.
Okay?
So how did matzo ball soup come to be?
So the matzo ball soup, the matzah actually is the unleavened bread, and that's what they ate, and that's what they ate in the desert when they escaped Egypt, and they spent time, right, they went through the sea, the sea split, they ran through, and they spent all this time in the desert, and what they ate was matzah, which is basically just wheat and water. And here today, we have Passover matzah that we have ground up really fine, and we're going to make it into the delicious matzo balls. The tradition is that you can't use like dairy and meat at the same time. So we're using a bunch of different animals today, but we're not using two parts of the same animal. So we're using chicken and beef, and we're using actually rendered duck fat to make these matzo balls instead of butter, because you cannot cross-contaminate two different parts of the animal.
We're doing a traditional matzo ball.
We're doing a traditional matzo ball soup today. Yes, we are. So right here, we're boiling down 1/3 cup of the rendered duck fat. All right. I have here a broth of different bones that I stewed overnight. This is going to be the bone broth and the base of the matzo ball soup. If you can see in here, actually, we have chicken's feet. Here's a nice chicken's foot for you right here. We've got chicken's feet in here. We've got bone marrow in here. We've got chicken backs and chicken necks. Like I said, it's stewed over here. We're making the matzo balls now. They sat out for 20 minutes in order for it to get sort of like thicker. And then we're forming them into these like beautiful little balls. After we form them into the balls, they're going to go into the fridge for at least a half an hour. I'm probably going to put them in for an hour. We're making a delicious stock right now for our matzo ball soup. We are just chopping up parsnips, turnips, carrots, yellow onion,
all
leeks,
for flavor,
and celery, all just for flavor.
So we're just getting kind of a rough cut here, rough chop. And so you don't actually eat it, it just goes as a broth, or? This is for flavor.
This is just for flavor. However, I have to say that I personally like to eat it in my soup.
Yeah.
So you can do it two ways. Traditionally, this is all strained out, right? I like a chunky soup, so I'll add back in stuff, and I'll also eat it with meat. I'm gonna make some short rib for all of us today if you want it. You don't have to have it, obviously. But when we picture it, and more traditionally, it's just gonna be a beautiful broth with the matzo balls.
Nice.
Browning the short ribs, that's going to go into the soup. As you know, I discarded all of the other meat parts, so this will be the only meat that's present in the soup if you choose to have meat in your bowl. So we're just going to lightly brown it on all sides, and then I'm going to throw it in with the stock, and it's going to cook for 3 hours. We have our beautiful stock. You can see it's here, it's boiling, we're still browning. And we're going to add these to the stock, cover, and 3 hours. We are straining the stock for the matzo ball soup. You want to try? We're straining out all of the veggies and the meat. So I'm basically just adding in the bone broth. from last night and this morning to the vegetable stock. And I'm mixing them together to make our beautiful stock from the matzo ball soup. We're gonna add a bunch of fresh dill, a bunch of fresh parsley. We're gonna add some salt and pepper and nutmeg.
Nutmeg.
And once it's boiling, we're gonna very gently spoon in, and I'll show you guys this, our matzo balls. And then it is all going to simmer for half an hour, and it'll be ready. So as you can see in here, we put a bunch of fresh parsley and fresh dill. There's salt and pepper and lemon, and then the secret ingredient really is the fact that I'm adding nutmeg.
Why do you add nutmeg?
Nutmeg, I feel like gives it a flavor, an unexpected little kick to it, and flavor that sort of like brightens and rounds it out. I cannot remember right now, I'm going to say this wrong, but I think that there are like 5 or 6 flavors, right? There's sweet, salty, sour. Does anybody know this? Sweet, salty, sour.
Is there bitter?
Bitter, umami. I think it's umami, right? Yeah. Right, and here we have our beautiful matzo balls. We made them horseradish and dill. And we're going to very, very gently lower them in. Oh my goodness, you can't see them right now. You can see them. They'll actually start to float to the top as they expand. You just keep looking at it. You'll see them. They'll expand and they'll start to float to the top. I actually reduced the heat because you don't want them to fall apart.
I'm starting to see them.
You are? Yep. See how they're starting to float? And that's what will happen. They'll expand in there. And I can turn it up a little bit because I actually went a little too low. And then they're going to actually simmer in here for about a half an hour. So we're at 250, 320, 310, 320, 20 to 30 minutes.
And then the soup's done, or is there another step?
No, and then the soup is done, ready to be served. Perfect. So exciting. We have a lot of matzo balls actually, so I might as well make them all so everybody. And after all that work, you have a beautiful bowl of soup full of delicious matzo balls. In this case, your soup was made with lots of root veggies and the bone broth stewed overnight. So there's a lot of healing collagen in there. It's good for your gut. It's good for your skin. And the matzo balls for this soup in particular are spiced with dill and horseradish. Thank you.